Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC 270 Ngannou versus Gane. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Kay Hansen. So how I see this one right here, Jasmine Jasudavicius is bigger, she's longer. I think she's the more well-rounded, at least at this level. But I feel like Kay Hansen is more tested, and I feel like her skills set is more valid. Like I feel like you validate your skill set when you fight, credible competition. I feel like Jasmine Jasudavicius has not fought credible competition. Yes, I picked her to beat, and she did beat Juliana Polstrowski or Polostri or balsamic vinegar or whatever her name may be, salami. But yeah, she beat Polostri, who was for some reason like a decent favorite. But Palastri, when I look at her skill set, it was not nothing really all that great. It was just a hype job a little bit, miniature hype job. But Kay Hansen actually legit, I feel. But that mean that's going to be all you need to beat her? I mean, to win, it's not. I think it's a very close fight. Like Jasmine basically will be to get off on Kay Hansen on the feet, who like I really can't really rate Kay Hansen striking at this given moment. But yeah, I feel like she'll be able to get off her on the feet. But I feel like Kay Hansen going to be just use her experience and look to blanket Jasmine Jasudavicius, look to work her to the ground, and find ways or hold her against the cage. And then, like I said, then find ways to drag to the ground, work for submissions, attempt submissions or threaten with submissions, try to hold the position, and basically just advance stalling tactics on Jasmine Jasudavicius. Like at the moment, she might have some great success on the ground, but ultimately, I feel like she's not going to be able to find those submissions. Might be able to find some decent ground and pound at time. But ultimately, it's going to be a case where it'll be a very close fight. Jasmine Jasudavicius have her moments in the grappling and the striking, but ultimately, the fight going to come down to Kay Hansen just out positioning her for most of the fight, or at least for good portions of each round that will allow her to get eke out a decision over Jasmine Jasudavicius. So in this one, I got Kay Hansen via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, Matt Frevola versus Genaro Valdez. And the high this one right here is, Valdez is 10-0, but he literally has not fought anyone of note or anyone of quality. Matt Frevola on the other side, an underrated fighter, came in, with a big prospect around him. Then he got knocked out by Polo Reyes in his in his debut. And then he rebounded and did what they do, pile some wins up. And then again, then I think his last loss was Armin Suyakarin. Nah, that wasn't his last loss. That was his loss prior to getting knocked out again. So he debuted on a brutal knockout loss, pile some wins up, and then he lost to Armin Suyakarin, who I feel would go on to, Armin Suyakarin will go on and be a big factor in this division, if not another division. But he will definitely go on to be a big factor in the UFC at some division for probably at least 2 to 3 years. So at some point. So Armin Suyakarin is a very, very bright prospect in any division he chooses to be in. Maybe welterweight or featherweight if he can make it there, but probably it's going to be lightweight. I don't think he's going to look to go up to 170 anytime soon. And I don't think he could make it to 145 to my knowledge. But yeah, not a bad loss. The Polo Reyes loss and his last loss are bad losses, but as we saw with the Polo Reyes loss when he debuted, he could easily, not easily, but he has shown to rebound, got wins over a very bright star in Jalen Turner, especially coming off that win Jalen Turner is, but got a win over Jalen Turner, got a win over Luis Pena, and been there with, like I said, been there with some solid guys, and outside of getting knocked out quick in 2 fights, he has shown incredible heart, incredible chin, solid well-rounded skills, great fight IQ. Yeah, so the guy's a problem. And I feel like he's tested. I feel like Genaro Valdez is not tested, not really valid. And looking at him struggle in the grappling departments with these low-tier, Mexican fighters who, I feel like in Mexico right now, it's some fighters, very rare, some fighters actually have some pretty decent grappling, but for the most part, their grappling is almost pedestrian in the Mexican circuit. Like I said, it's not the oldest circuit. Like, MMA itself is still very young as far as modern MMA. Martial arts is old as time, but modern MMA is very much young. And a lot of these, foreign countries, they still developing their mixed martial artists. So you can see a lot of guys that's wrestling not polished as much as, maybe the U.S. circuit or maybe Canadian circuit or maybe the Russian and, these more advanced circuits. But yeah, he's coming from that circuit. I'm not really impressed with all of his skill set. And I just think he's kind of very much green right now. I didn't like the Patrick White win at all. I feel like he showed out there easily, tapped him out. But no, it wasn't that easy. On paper, it was dominating, but when you watch the fight, especially in that second round, before he got to finish, he was getting walked down, he was getting ripped to the body, he was getting picked apart, he was mouth breathing, and he caught him with a check hook. And then, yeah, that was the end of the fight, basically. So I'm not really super impressed with Valdez grappling or his striking, like anything like that. And he has not fought anyone. And the people he had fought have been nowhere near UFC caliber like, in most scenes, they not even regional quality. These guys like amateur quality, the people that he was fighting. So yeah, not impressed with his competition, nor his skill set is given point. I feel like Frevola's skill set is very much more credible, and like his wins, his resume is very much more credible. Been in there with some very tough guys, very, very tough guys. And you have seen what he brings. I feel like Valdez cardio isn't all the way up to par right now. His striking isn't up to par. And I feel like Frevola's grappling is tested and validated, and Valdez is not. And he was literally struggling in several points, struggling with White a little bit in the grappling, struggling in the Mexican circle with his grappling. So I just feel like Frevola is just on a different level at this given point. Valdez can improve and work on some things, and also another thing, Frevola is 31 years old, and Valdez is only 1 year younger at 30. So he's not this young guy with so much high ceiling or anything. I'm not saying, but ultimately, I feel like Frevola's going to be able to outwork him, outpace him, use that experience, stay in his face. I feel like the biggest concern is if Frevola, get his lights turned out early, but as the fight stands, I don't see Valdez finding as the fight goes on, the odds drop significantly of Valdez getting that stop. I feel like if he's going to get that stop, it's going to be in the first round. But outside of that, I'm not putting no great interest in Valdez knocking him out in any round or any point or stopping him by any dang submission. Definitely not. Striking, decent odds. Decision, possibly. But his greatest thing for him, I feel like, is a first round knockout potentially. And he's not a fighter that necessarily has pop in his punches to begin with. He's not no heavy handed fighter. He's not no super fast, explosive striker. So I'm not really giving that for him. And mostly he's like kind of a average MMA fighter almost in my opinion. But yeah, Frevola, to outpace him, outwork him, take him to late rounds, and school him basically to a decision. So in this one, and also drown him, etc., but not stop him. So in this fight, I got Matt Frevola via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, Vanessa Demopoulos versus Silvana Gomez Juarez. And high season right here. So you got Demopoulos like 35 years old, mid 30s. You got Gomez Juarez who's like 38, pushing 40. Silvana Gomez Juarez is a full mixed martial artist, but at this level, she's really kind of just a striker. I definitely think she's a better striker, and I think Vanessa Demopoulos does fall into the tendency of just striking, which is, not bode well for her if she chooses to do that and not use her fight IQ and not use her full round of skill set. I definitely think she's the better grappler, and also definitely think she has fought much better competition as well. Record not the prettiest, but the level of competition she has fought has been pretty solid. She has not been ducking no one. She's been fighting the best she could get. Gomez Juarez, I don't think she's been ducking no one, but she definitely hasn't. But, she fought what she could find around her. But again, pushing 40, not really a good look. Trying her best, to make some of her career with the little she does have left. But, I just think close going will be a close fight, but I feel like eventually Demopoulos, when the fight does get tough or when opportunities do present themselves, she will look to mix in the grappling. And that's what will, be the edge of rounds. I feel like she's gonna strike more. This could be pretty much not an easy fight, but a much, much easier fight if she would look to mix some grappling heavily, like more heavy in this fight. Yeah, that'd be a much smarter decision for her. And it wouldn't be like a place where it'd be like some close decision. But I don't think she's gonna do that. So I feel like she's gonna do it limitedly and when it's needed or when it's just there. And that's gonna make it a close fight. But Demopoulos ultimately, in a fight where that's relatively close, her grappling is going to edge it for her. So in this one, I got Vanessa Demopoulos via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Tony Gravely versus Simon Oliveira. And how I see this one right here is, I think Simon Oliveira I don't like his takedown defense. I don't think his grappling's all that great. He does have a decent or average guillotine or something. No, it's not. I'm going to say average. That's an insult. He got a pretty decent guillotine. Nothing spectacular. Not like a specialty guillotine like, oh my gosh. No matter who they are, just don't even give this guy your neck at any point. It's not that level, but you got to respect this guillotine. Got to respect a couple of little submissions, but I'm not really super impressed with his striking. Not really super impressed with his level of competition or anything like that. And I did see a fight not too long ago, like 2 fights ago, where he was getting easily taken out, easily controlled on the ground. I feel like Tony Gravely can outpace him, outwork him, score takedowns. But, like I said, respect the guillotine enough. Scoop those legs up, turn them to the side, neutralize that guillotine. Or maybe stay tight in his guard, work the body, and just, I don't think he really had no active, he's not like a real active throwing up arm bars and triangle chokes guy. I'm not really saying like a guard that's all that active. So I feel like Gravely can ride that, throw some combinations, level change, look to scoop him up and drag him to the ground and pretty much dominate him on the ground. And I'll say not dominate him, but ride out that top position. right in top position and dominate on two different things. Like dominate, like you just go on, they just splitting their guard like this butter, you busting them up, taking them back, choking them out, or just mauling them. Right in the top position, like you just like, I could get here and I'm comfortable here and I could, be here all day and grind you out to the decision type beat. So in this one, I got Tony Gravely via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Jack Della Maddalena versus Pete Rodriguez. And how I see this right here between these two is, I just feel like Pete Rodriguez is out of his depth level. He's beyond his depth is all I'm going to say. 4-0. I think he got like, 10 amateur fights or something like that. Much more amateur fights than he has pro fights. But nonetheless, I feel like his MMA pro record represents where I feel like his skill set at and where his talent level is at currently at this given point. I feel like Maddalena is just a much more experienced fighter, much more composed fighter. I feel like Rodriguez kind of got limited tools, limited stature. And I just don't really see it right now. Decent little right hand, nothing super spectacular with it. Kind of a pushing right hand and like that's your biggest threat on the feet, and it's a lot of times it's not enough oil on that right hand. Like it's a pushing right hand, like a shoving right hand almost. Got some gears to it. It's not just a one fluid motion. It's not fluid enough. It needs some more oil, some more polishing. Then striking and grappling. His grappling is definitely, I feel like, his weakest area to me. I feel like Maddalena could take advantage of him there on the feet. I feel like Jack Della Maddalena could take advantage of him there. And ultimately, this a guy that's beyond his depth at this point, and might even be beyond his weight class. I feel like he probably can, with all that extra chunk on his body, he probably can make 45, to be honest. But that's my opinion. It's not like super tall guy. He like 5'8", 5'9", right? Might even be 5'7". They say 5'9", but I feel like he could easily pass a 5'7". Kind of got a little bit of jiggle, a lot of jiggle around his body. Man can probably make 145 with a better diet. But yeah, Jack Della Maddalena, I feel like will beat him every aspect of this fight. Probably going to primarily play out as a striking matchup. Then the second round, after just wearing him down and thaw him out in that first round, I think he puts him out in that second round. So in this fight, I got Jack Della Maddalena via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Michael Morales versus Trevin Giles. And how I see this one right here. So I feel like Michael Morales has a pretty good ceiling. He has a young, talented kid, good frame, good build, good power, good technique for the most part. I do feel like his issue with him is that he is kind of young-minded in a way. I feel like a lot of his stuff, like I say, he has speed and explosiveness, but kind of just a little bit predictable and a little bit not, I want to say stiff, but like what he's doing, like kind of doing, repetitive in a way. Like what he's doing, he's about to come, he's about to bring. And also he's forcing a lot of stuff he's doing. He's not really letting the fight just settle it down and really pick his shots and really put them together well. Like he's kind of just, I feel like, forcing action. And I feel like against Trevin Giles, a guy like has had his up and down, but still a pretty young guy, pretty young talented fighter like that. Like probably sitting right in his prime, where Michael Morales is probably 10 years shy of his prime, or like 7 years at least of his prime. So a very young guy with 22, 23, good frame. But I don't think I just don't think he's fully polished enough. I think this gonna be a fight where he's gonna get kind of be a little bit less than he'll get a rub from an older, more experienced guy who's right in his prime. And Trevin Giles is a pretty nice, clean striker, clean boxer. An underrated overall mixed martial artist in this one. And I feel like he's gonna take advantage of the eagerness of Michael Morales, be landing some counters on him, be outbox him, and just cause him to overshoot, cause him to overdink, cause him to, like I said, allow him to be that over aggressive fighter that Michael Morales is, and then take advantage of it. Use that experience, use that range, use the distance, and let him close the distance, and then be an easy target. Like he want to be aggressive, be over aggressive, and force action. Let him close that gap, and then you take advantage of what counters, or you walk him to jabs, you walk him to like I said, counters, jabs, or use that to angle off on him and put him against the cage when he's trying to, like I said, overcommit, and just school the younger guy in this one. Still gonna be a competitive fight nonetheless, but I think Trevin Giles' experience gonna pull him through in this one. So in this fight, I got Trevin Giles via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Roundy Barcelos versus Victor Henry. And how I see this one right here, I think Victor Henry's a very solid fighter, but I'm going to go Roundy Barcelos in the one. I feel like they can match each other, not match each other necessarily, but they can, be competitive with each other in every single skill set on the game right now. But I feel like Roundy Barcelos, I feel like is a much better wrestler, grappler than me. To me, I feel like he would be the one in control of the positioning, whether this fight goes to the ground or not. On the feet, Victor Henry, for some points, like I said, early on, he probably gonna have a little bit of success. Gonna be try to be aggressive, stay right in his face, not getting no Barcelos no breathing room. But Barcelos gonna be, taking full advantage of that aggressiveness. Like, you want to come in on me, you want to stay in front of me, stay in target range, start piling combinations. Like, you're gonna be in his face, he's gonna land combinations on you. Then start to force Henry back on the back foot, or when Henry starts to overcommit, stay in that, sit in front. Just look to level change, score takedowns on him. Like I said, bang him. You try to bang back, level change, scoop him up, take him to the ground, work positions, and it's like zap some of his energy out of him. Like, ground pound, punch him to the body, chest, head, and force him to work and allow him to tire himself out trying to work back to his feet. But all the matters, I feel like Barcelos is going to be a couple steps ahead in this one. Like, Victor Henry, very talented guy, going to come out very aggressive, have some success early. But Barcelos ultimately, like I said, he have that wrestling, that grappling in his back pocket. Not to say Henry doesn't have it, but I feel like Barcelos' wrestling is on a different level. And I feel like his positional control and also his experience and level of competition he has for it on a different level. And all those factors going to allow him to get his hand raised in one competitive fight. But Barcelos, like I said, have been a step or two ahead in the grappling, a step or two ahead in the striking. In the overall chess match, he'll be a step ahead. So in this fight, I got Roundy Barcelos via decision. Now to our prelim headliner, we have in the featherweight division, Ilia Taporia versus Charles Jourdain. And how I see one right here between Taporia versus Jourdain is two solid guys, two talented guys. But I think Ilia Taporia, this fight is, I feel, almost tailor-made for him. Charles Jourdain has some pretty decent hands on him, but I feel like a lot of his striking, at least with his hands, is pretty telegraphed and limited. Got some crazy kicks. He can be wild and explosive, but controlled chaos. But ultimately, I feel like Ilia Taporia is not going to give him that space to be out there, setting up his kicks, looking to level change, blast you low, and then come up top, looking to come over with these overhands and these switch stance stuff. You're not going to give him that space to be pretty. Like, early on, Jourdain might be able to throw some little kicks here and there, but then Taporia be able to catch those kicks and come on the inside or counter those kicks. Or we don't want to kick to the body, but catch it, then blast him down the middle and put him on his butt. Ultimately, just use those kicks to get it in on the inside and then batter the body of Jourdain time and time again, making the ring a very small ring, making the cage very small, and not giving Jourdain that space to be Air Jourdain. He's going to be grounded Jourdain. He's going to be landed in Jourdain. So Taporia going to be right in his face, crack him to the body, crack him to the dome, and not really allow him to be flashy, not really allow him to have that space. And he's going to be tight with his offense and tight with his defense and sharp with his punches. Now he's coming there with his hands down, trying to, crowd Jourdain space and then court with some overhand, like, what's his name, Doohoo Choi was. But, we came coming with tight, moving that head, ripping to the body, catching those kicks, ripping to the body, ripping to the top, making the cage small. And I think he eventually started to make that cage very small, wear Jourdain down, hands already low, chin kind of low, ripping to the body, short hook to the chin as he leans in, rock him, drop him, and put him out in that second round. So in this fight, I have Ilia Taporia via second round TKO. Now to our main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the middleweight division, Rodolfo Vieira versus Wellington Thurman. So how I see this one right here is, for me, this really just comes down to who's at least making an attempt to change, and that person is Rodolfo Vieira. Wellington Thurman, I'm not really seeing those great improvements from him. I keep saying the same guy time and time again. I'm not really seeing that great improvement. I'm not super impressed with what I'm saying from Matter of fact, I'm not impressed with what I'm saying from Wellington Thurman. Like, seeing this guy get knocked out about 4 or 5 times now in the UFC, or at least 3 times. Rodolfo Vieira, he had that, really embarrassing loss to Alexander Hernandez, where he got tapped out, and he's supposed to be this multiple time world champion in BJJ. So it was an embarrassing thing. But I feel like he went to the gym and worked on some of his cardio, worked on some of his pacing, worked on a lot of issues. And also, it's not like he's a guy that's been doing MMA for so long. He's still very much a fresh face in MMA. It's still very much new to it. But I'm saying the growth from him, even in just one fight, where I'm not saying that from Wellington Thurman in like 6 or 7 fights. I keep saying the same guy come out there time and time again. And one thing we will know for sure, that Rodolfo Vieira is the more well-rounded, not the more well-rounded, but he definitely is a much different tier of grappler than Wellington Thurman. I feel like he packs more power than Thurman. And I feel like he also could take advantage of Thurman, who also a lot of times get caught up in firefights, get caught up in frustration and allow, I don't know, his ego or whatever it may be that causes him to get sloppy out there. And I feel like Vieira will be able to take advantage of that, whatever that is, to land counters on him. maybe potentially finish him off with a, like, catch him, knock him out, or at least use that to drop him and get a takedown off it, or get it to the ground, or sets up the grappling exchanges, or even just take advantage of the aggression and use it to score takedowns. But ultimately, I feel like Rodolfo Vieira will be to take advantage of Thurman's mental lapses out there, land the big shots, take it to the ground, wear on him. Eventually, his fight starts to go a little bit late. I think Thurman's a little bit worn out. Just getting sloppy out there. Vieira catches him, drops him, takes his back, pounds him out, then taps him out, and I think around that third round. So in this fight, I got Rodolfo Vieira via third round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Cody Stamann versus Syed Nurmagomedov. And how right here between Stamann versus Nurmagomedov is Nurmagomedov will have a good height advantage, good reach advantage over Cody Stamann. Stamann does have some solid wrestling. He has a phenomenal pace, phenomenal cardio. But I also think this fight comes down to wrestling, or at least the biggest factor the biggest X factor in this fight is wrestling. Now I think they can neutralize each other out. I feel like Nurmagomedov can address the wrestling Stamann. And Stamann is he's a decent striker, but I feel like his best attribute is definitely his wrestling. You could neutralize that wrestling, or at least address it, which I feel like Nurmagomedov can. You make him a lesser fighter. And I feel like that he'll be able to do that, be able to neutralize the wrestling, or at least address it to an extent. Keep his fight striking, use his height, use his reach, and be able to take the stalker fighter, force him to come in the inside, land counters, and then be out of there. Don't be there to be hit. Don't be there to engage. Use that height, use that reach. Snipe the smaller fighter. Still gonna be a competitive fight. Stamann gonna make it, if you can't get a takedown, going initiate a clinch or look for the takedown, which is all sets up pushing the Nurmagomedov back, making him work to defend the takedown. But ultimately, I see this as a very competitive fight, but I think Nurmagomedov's gonna be able to get off on the feet more and take advantage of that height and that reach. And also just think in general, he's a more polished striker at this given point. I think that will allow him to beat Cody Stamann to a decision. So in this fight, I got Syed Nurmagomedov via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Michel Pereira versus Andre Fialho. So I see this one right here is short notice for Fialho. I think he's a solid enough fighter, but ultimately I feel like at this given point, Michel Pereira is just, in the broadest sense, better in every single area than Fialho at this moment. I think he has more speed. I think he has more pop on his punches. I think he's a more technical striker. I think his grappling's underrated, but I don't know. I'll probably give Fialho maybe a very slight grappling advantage, but I don't think it's a grappling advantage he can look to use unless he maybe wears down Pereira early on, and then, maybe able to work for some submissions or be able to work for the takedowns more. But initially on, especially through the first round and a half, don't really haven't seen any great success in that area at all. I ultimately kind of see this as more of a striking matchup with Pereira just being too fast for him, too sharp for him, and just dictating a striking battle. And I think Pereira puts him away in the second round before there's any attempt to really make this a war of cardio, basically, or some cardio battle. I think he puts him away in the second round, fills him out the first round, and then puts him out in the second round. So in this fight, I have Michel Pereira via second round TKO. Now to our co-main event, we have in the flyweight division for the undisputed flyweight title, Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figurado 3. So how I see this fight in the trilogy, the odd trilogy, where the first fight was a draw, second fight went to Moreno, and now Moreno could potentially close this trilogy out with another win, or Figurado wins, then they potentially go to I don't know, four fight. I don't know what you call a four fight, a quadruple. Something like that, a quadly or something. But let me stop speaking. I don't know where I'm going with this, but how I see this one right here is I feel like Moreno took away Figueredo's biggest attribute that was maybe one of his greatest assets, at least as far as with himself. Everyone else still gonna probably have the same fears with Figueredo, but Moreno no longer sees him as the boogeyman. He dominated him, then he tapped him out. And I think he got over that after the first fight. Because he went out there, he said, yesterday, Figueredo was a solid fighter. He's good, he's great, he's all this and all that. But I felt his power, and it was like something I could deal with. That wasn't probably his biggest concern, that, he could get hit with this one big punch, or this one punch, and all of a sudden you on your knees, and all like one punch, all of a sudden you unconscious. Like, that was his biggest concern. But after the first fight, taking many of his shots, like, this is stuff I could deal with. And you saw in the first fight, he was very, very close, very competitive. Obviously went to a decision, and obviously was a draw. So very close fight. And after that moment, he realized, I can compete with this guy. I can take his power. And we saw in the second fight, it was no big concern. He went out there and just fought. He was not worried about anything Figurado was doing. He was allowing Figurado to walk him down. He was just out there competing with him. So that's not going to change in this fight. He already felt his power, and it's not something he's worried about. He's not worried about his power. He tapped his man out in the last fight, dominated him in the last fight. So coming this fight, going to be high on confidence, much improved, and the boogeyman is long gone as far as he's concerned. I just feel like going this one, I don't think there's enough time for Figueredo to make no concrete changes. Like he went to Cejudo, just like Weili Zhang did. You can make some adjustments. You can try to do this and try to do that, but you're not necessarily going to make those changes or effectively in one camp or in one little period. You need much longer time. Maybe get like 5 fights or 3 fights, 4 fights, at least or something. But from one fight to the next is not going to be enough. And even then, I feel like at this point Moreno has his number and already took away his biggest edge in that fear factor, that boogeyman. He don't see him as no boogeyman. So he gonna come out there, he'll give him his respect, but he not gonna go out there and give him no scare. He not giving him no fear. He got no fear for this man. He gonna be in his face. He gonna be able to push the pace. And even Figueredo's working on this, working on that. I feel like the factors that are still there still are there. Like Moreno still can outwork him. Moreno still has the better cardio. Still got to push the pace. Moreno's still the better grappler, still the better wrestler. And I feel like, definitely, I feel like the biggest thing is going to be pacing. Like, he still has the better pacing. And I guess the less lax boxing. So, again, I feel like it's going to be a similar repeat to the first fight. I mean, not the first fight, but the second fight. But maybe a little bit extended. Figueredo going to do something to extend the fight a little bit more. But all that's going to do is, just extend him to rounds where he's going to be weaker at. He's going to extend him to the rounds where, he don't have necessarily the cardio to push a, high pace past that point. And Moreno's going to the fight's going to be extended just for Moreno to drown him later. So Moreno's going to take it to the later rounds, push a pace that he can't keep up with, drown him, then tap him out in that 4th round. So in this fight, I got Brandon Moreno via 4th round submission. Now to our main event, we have in the heavyweight division for the undisputed heavyweight title, you got the undisputed champion Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane, the interim champion, former training partners for like 4 months for like a summer camp, but here we are now. So high season 1, I feel like Ngannou definitely power is a big factor. I guess my obviously one concern with anyone going against Ngannou, I'm picking against Ngannou. My concern if I'm picking against Ngannou is always going to be that power. That man has power that can end the fight at any time in any round. So you got to respect that. And he's not a slow heavyweight either. He got some speed on him as well. So you might not see it coming. Get hit with a big tractor trailer via his fist, and it's all she wrote. But and sometimes Ciryl Gane can stay in the pocket a little bit too long. But out of all the heavyweights and just about most fighters in the heavier weight classes, Ciryl Gane is the one guy that don't really look to engage in these 50-50 exchanges. He's out there really picking his shots, staying light on his toes, let his combinations go, and then exit. So he's not really got that assist in it too much. At times he can, but very limited attempts. But I do have my concerns anytime he will do that against Ngannou, because like anytime he does that, there's a very highly likelihood that Ngannou can land on him. And all it takes is, one big clean shot that Gane takes flush. But what I've really seen is one. I see Ciryl Gane really drawing out the power punches of Ngannou early, attacking the legs of Ngannou, blasting the legs, stand on his toes, and forcing Ngannou to, reach, forcing Ngannou to overcommit. Like I said, taking him out of these first rounds and not really allowing Ngannou to land those flush shots on him, like especially not on the dome, not allowing him to land nothing flush, rolling with every single shot, or catching shots at the end and still rolling with them, rolling him off his guard a little bit. But ultimately, first round, just to, fill Ngannou out, extend him, cause him to reach, and, just touching him, breaking him down, take him to the later rounds, and then put him away late in the 4th round. Not late in the 4th round, but put him away in the 4th round. I see, like, taking Ngannou late, blasting his legs, blasting his body, breaking him down, and then putting him down in the 4th round. But very competitive fight. But Gane ultimately putting together a better game plan, and ultimately technique and skill over power. But not to say Ngannou doesn't have it, but I feel like Gane is the clearly more technical fighter. And I feel like he just has the better technique out there. And I feel like he'll come in with a better game plan and be the more polished fighter out there, whereas Ngannou will be maybe the more dangerous fighter, but Gane will be the smarter fighter and fights better to his strategy and fight better to his strengths. And that will get his hand raised in this fight. So in this fight, I have Ciryl Gane via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC 270 Ngannou versus Gane. And as always, thanks for watching.